What if you already own a rental property, but you're not that excited about it anymore? Maybe you had a big repair recently that ate up all your cash flow. Maybe you had a bad tenant, or maybe you're just nervous about the current market. The question is, should you sell this rental property or should you keep it? And how do you decide which one you should do? That's the question we're going to tackle in today's episode of Ask Coach, and we're getting started right now. Welcome to the Ask Coach edition of the Real Estate Investing Podcast. I'm your host, Chad Carson. You can also call me Coach Carson, and this is a show to help you get out of the financial grind so you can spend your time doing more of what matters. Today's question was inspired by a one-on-one coaching conversation I had with Jonathan Mogollon inside my community, Rental Property Mastery. If you haven't heard of Rental Property Mastery, it's a private community where I do coaching, where I'm helping people like Jonathan and 110 other people currently to find properties, to raise money, to get the financing and the down payments they need for their properties, to learn how to manage them and systematize them so that eventually they have a passive rental property business that pays them money so they can have financial freedom. So if you're interested in that and you want help in coaching and accountability and small mastermind groups, check out Rental Property Mastery. There'll be a link in the podcast and YouTube description below. And to help me answer this question, I had a conversation with my friend and one of the smartest real estate investors I know, Erion Shehaj from Houston, Texas. He's also known as the investing architect. Now let's get to our conversation.
So before we go into how to actually decide, I think there are 3 good reasons and 3 bad reasons to sell a rental property or an investment property. So first, let's go over the good ones. So the first good reason why you should consider selling is because the value of your rental has kind of hit a max, and that has resulted in you having a much lower return on equity. So what I mean by that is let's say that you purchase an investment property and you purchase it at market value for the sake of this discussion, right? And you go in and you put 20% down, you finance the rest. So initially your equity is equal to your down payment, right? Now, if the property does well over time, so you hold it 5, 6, 7 years, and it's gone up in value, right? Now, and the mortgage keeps going down, so the equity keeps growing. So even if the property is performing the same as it was when you first bought it, because that the equity has skyrocketed in the property, your return on equity is low, which means that it may force you to consider hey, is my money working as hard as it can? In this shell of a property, or would it be better to free it from that property by selling and then putting it back to work so that it can earn at the same levels that it was when you made the decision to purchase this one? So that's a great reason to consider selling a property. Just because you've got equity doesn't mean that you should always sell, but that is one trigger where when I think about selling, I always want to sell on my terms. I don't want to sell forced by something, right? Yeah. It's never favorable to the investor when something else triggers them to sell, right? But if I can sell on my terms and figure out what are the things that serve my interests where a sale could be beneficial, then I'll look at those reasons.
It's basically saying that the big picture here, you're the investing architect. So you're building a plan for somebody. It's our goal is to eventually have financial freedom and use our equity to help us get free from the job or whatever we want to do. A potentially good reason to sell is you've got enough equity and it's not optimized anymore. It's not performing as well. You have these little soldiers, this army of money equity out there working for you, and they're not working as hard as they could. So maybe I could put it into another vehicle, go somewhere else. That's at least the beginning. We're going to talk about maybe some reasons you shouldn't, but that's a right. It's an opportunistic reason. It's not a reactive reason to sell a property.
Correct. That's the first reason, first good one. The second one is that there's been a deterioration of the quality of the location, the property, or the tenant pool that location tends to attract. So when you make a purchase decision, you're always you have a thesis, right? You might not write it down. Some of us write it down. Some have just sort of have a feeling they go by gut feeling. But essentially, the thing that makes somebody invest in a property is a thesis that, hey, I'm buying this property because the location fits my criteria. It's going to attract this type of tenant. It's a property is really good quality of construction, so it's going to be relatively headache free over a period of time. And those are all, that's the narrative in the investor's mind as they're making that purchase decision. Now, the beauty of actually being an investor and pulling the trigger and purchasing is that later on a few years, you can test those assumptions. Like the reality is going to show you like, well, is the location really good? Like, does it attract the type of tenants that you want? And sometimes, an area starts heading the wrong direction, right? So that would be a good reason. This is more of a defensive reason, right? So the first reason that I gave you was more of an opportunity, more of an attacking play. This one is more like, hey, you see a risk in the horizon. Does it make sense to take that capital out and put it in a property that does fit the thesis that you had initially?
Which is another good reason to do two things. One, pay attention, have your ear to the ground in your local market. And if you're out of town, having a local property manager conversation all the time, your local agent conversation, hey, what's going on? How's this neighborhood doing? Because that stuff's fluid. It doesn't move overnight. It doesn't move like rapidly.
Correct.
But you can get ahead of it. I mean, you can see things going better or getting worse. And that's,
the key is not to fool yourself, right? Like don't ever, because you can convince yourself of doing anything.
Yeah.
But just be objective and, like don't try to revise history and change your criteria and move the, goalposts halfway in. Like just stick to your criteria and see and evaluate them correctly as to like, do they still fit the box?
Yep. Love it. All right, good. Reason number 2, location deteriorates. Your original thesis isn't accurate anymore.
Correct. So the third reason is that there is some exceptional replacement opportunities, meaning like there are, like you can have a property that's doing well, but opportunities that are out there are so enticing and so like they can help you, power faster to your goal, right? So an example of this would be, let's say you have a single family property and it's done really well for you and it's a solid performer, is doing so well, it's got good equity, even the return on equity is good, like you'd want to keep it otherwise. But there's this opportunity where you could take that capital from 1 unit and purchase 4 units, right? And it's a great return, it's a great opportunity, and that would be another reason why you should consider selling.
You could sell that one if you had 150,000 equity in that property, and you're buying this other property for 400 grand, 500 grand, and you could take that equity, move it to here, and you're going to make, you like the location just as well or better, and the return looks just as good or better, and so you're like, all right, this is a good reason to sell.
I mean, you like the location better, you get to start the depreciation clock over again. You might buy something that's newer versus something that's 20 years old. So you could reset the clock on a lot of things, and scale. Yep. So that would be a third good reason to sell their properties.
All right, we've got a checklist of good reasons. So I'm anticipating the bad reasons. Why should I not sell my property?
Well, the first one is an impulsive reaction to market fluctuations, right? So it's not a matter of if, it's a question of when there's going to be market fluctuation. So if you are expecting your property to always perform and there not be any sort of changes in the marketplace, you should probably not invest in it at all. Like you should just buy bonds or whatever, where the coupon is fixed and But what you don't want to do is you don't want to, it's almost never a good idea for an investor to sell property under pressure. Like that's a cardinal rule. So what you want to do is you want to make sure that you put yourself and you set up your structure in such a way that you have sort of the emergency funds to ride out any sort of these storms that could happen. So that's the part where sometimes I get an investor and they say, well, I've got 100,000 to invest. I said, okay, but is that in addition to your emergency fund? She's like, oh no, that's all of it. So well, you don't have 100 then, right? Because what ends up happening is you pull the trigger, you make your purchase, and then something changes in the market, the rents go down, vacancy goes up, what have you, and you just can't ride that storm. And now you're in the market trying to sell at the exact worst time that you could possibly sell.
Yep. I've got a student, a friend who has some properties in a really good market in Texas, actually, probably nearby in Austin, and
Hmm.
excellent long-term fundamentals. You probably know more about Austin than I do, but right now, the last 6 months have been difficult renting the properties. There's been a lot
Hmm.
more vacancies. There's a lot more supply on the market. So I tell them it's like almost like you throw a big rock in the pond of the market of Austin, and all of a sudden the supply is just like all waves everywhere, and
Hmm.
it hasn't settled back down. That to me seems like a bad time to try to sell a property. That it seems reactive to like what we're talking about here, impulsive. Oh man, I'm getting a lot of vacancies. This is harder to rent. I'm having to lower my rent some. Not the right time to sell.
No, no, not at all. I would argue it's a good time to buy
Yes, I agree. All
from
right.
the people that are rattled by those fluctuations. Yeah,
Exactly. So there's always another person on the other side of that.
of course.
But the rule we're saying, don't sell just because you're impulsive and things seem hard right now. But be a buyer when there's blood in the street and everybody else is
Yep,
panicking. You need to be a buyer.
absolutely.
So we have one bad reason: being impulsive. The market's changed. What else do you got there?
So the second bad reason would be to cave into peer pressure and blindly follow trends, where you go in and you sell because of anecdotal evidence from people in your ear. That could be your friends, that could be your family. Oh, somebody I know bought this property in an indescript location, and like it's just these very sort of abstract situations, or reading articles and saying, oh, this year the hottest market is in North
Yeah,
Dakota, right? And you're
right.
following those trends without taking into consideration like what your original plan is, what your path is, what your journey is. So just sort of making a decision to sell for those reasons is never a good idea.
I'll add another one in there. A bad reason to sell for me that I've had a lot of people kind of bump into is that you have this really high quality property and it's one of your best locations. You like the property, but somebody has made you an offer and really wants to buy that property. And they're hot on oh, I'd love to buy your property. And it's often your tenant who wants to buy the property or some other
Right.
investor. I found some of my best properties, my best locations, the one I want to keep forever will get the most offers and the most interest and the most people
Of
sending
course.
letters.
They
So
should, right?
yeah, they should. And so that's never a good reason to sell a
No,
property. In fact, that's a good indication that you should probably keep it if you're getting everybody wanting to buy it. And the properties
I
that
agree.
nobody wants, the ones that are. I used to have some of these properties that I bought in 2007 and 8. I called them like the bubble gum on the bottom of my shoe. They're just stuck to my shoe, and I couldn't get rid of them. I wanted to sell them. I wanted to get rid of them, but they kind of got stuck on my shoe in 2007 and 8, and I had to keep the thing. Whereas the best
Yeah,
properties you have, they're easy to get rid of. You could sell them
absolutely.
tomorrow. So another, maybe I'm throwing in there a bad reason. Number 3 is just because somebody made you an offer or your tenant wants to buy the property, not a good reason.
Well, my third reason is kind of related to that, which is that selling for the thrill of making moves, right,
Mm,
is a bad reason. And this is what I mean by this is when you go out there and you're buying your investment properties, that's exciting, right? There's
yeah,
a lot of research that goes into it. There's a sense of accomplishment that comes from closing a deal. You feel like somebody's out there doing things, making moves. And then, when you get a good property, what follows is a little bit boring, right? Like
yeah,
things don't like, I mean, yes, you're making cash flow, but it's not the same. You don't get the same dopamine rush that you get by closing your deals. So sometimes people just sell just to kind of create movement in their life and excitement. And it's really important for investors to understand that it's not the job of your investment properties to excite you and entertain you. Like
yeah.
you should find that somewhere else.
Yeah, go jump out of an airplane with a
Exactly.
parachute, or do a bungee jump, or go on a roller coaster, whatever you want to do. But like, don't try to get that excitement, that rush from your
Yeah,
investments.
absolutely.
Yeah, well said. I love it. So you might have some more you want to add to this, but let's summarize this. Somebody has an existing rental property. We've given them a checklist. There's 3 good reasons here. If you have one of those good reasons, or there might be some other ones too, then maybe you consider it. Then you calmly, patiently consider selling, not in a rush.
Hmm.
If you're emotional, if you got some impulsive kind of push, you want to be excited and you want to do something different, maybe consider those bad reasons. Because ultimately, I always compared Erion to like a chess match. Like you're playing chess with real estate, and if you can calmly think about the move, which selling a property is a big move. Like you did a lot of work to buy it, to finance it, to hold on to it. You always want to be careful with that move. You want to be thoughtful with that move. And if it's a good time to do it and make a decision, get a realtor to help you and do what you got to do. But you got any other final thoughts on this, on how somebody can actually make that decision?
Right. So in the context of the good and the bad moves, or the good and bad reasons, the way that I would decide is I would go through the good reasons one by one. So the first step would be figure out what is your current equity and what's your return on equity. A lot of investors have never done this exercise. They say, oh, I invested 50,000 when I purchased it. I make this much money, so my return is this. But they don't know that, the equity portion of it is also part of their investment. So going through that exercise and calculating their equity and calculating their current return on equity, that's a sobering moment, right? So they should do that first to figure out, hey, how hard exactly is my money working with inside this property, right? That would be the first. The second is reassess the quality of the location, of the tenants, and of the property. In other words, would you buy an identical property to the one that you own next door to it, knowing what you know today? If the answer is no, that could be a reason to consider an exit. Third, you should evaluate what are the opportunities in the market. A smart investor never just sells to sell. It's always sell so that you could make your next chess move, right? It's never about just cash out, because you cash out and then what? Yep. Right? It's money just sitting in the bank is not working for you. So you need to figure out, okay, you have to think 2 moves ahead. So it's always, so I'm going to make this, if I make the sale, then where does the money go? And finally, the fourth step is you always have to consider everything in the context of your overall plan. Meaning, if I do sell this and I purchase this other opportunity, does that advance my interest in terms of the journey? Like, does that move me faster to financial freedom or financial independence, or does it, does it take you backwards? Because you could have a situation where you could have the good reasons to sell, you could have a good opportunity to buy, but if they don't move you forward in your journey, then it's probably not a good time to sell either.
Yep. Well said. And I'll just add, as you go through those 4 steps, it's been super helpful for me to have people in my life who are not inside my head to run this by. And, sometimes it's my wife is a good, is a business partner for me.
Smart man.
Having a friend like Erion to call, who's another person in the kind of similar sphere to you. If you have a mentor, if you have a coach, if you got a real estate agent, a property manager, just running these decisions by somebody else who's not you can get some of that emotional kind of filter out. And if you have to explain it to them and tell them why you're thinking about doing this before you actually do it, it brings things back to like the basics. I mean, you have to show those reasons why. And if it's just like, I just hate this property, I don't want to own it anymore. Okay, calm down a little bit. Let's to kind of talk you off the ledge a little bit, so right. You actually have to think it through.
Sometimes just vocalizing it just makes it better and leads to better decisions overall.
Yeah. Well, I love this framework, Erion, and I think this will be helpful for people. If you're watching this on YouTube, leave us a comment below. Let us know what your criteria are for selling a rental property or how you've decided to do that. And if you have any questions for us, let us know. If you want to send us an email if you're listening to the podcast, send it to podcast@coachcarson.com. And Erion, if people want to follow you and hang out with you, where can they find you and connect with you online?
So they can find me on X or Twitter at Invest Architect. My website, signaturehouston.com, and on LinkedIn.
Great. I'll put links to all those in the podcast description and the YouTube description. Thanks so much for being here with me.
Thank you.
If you like the topic of this video, I think you'll like my next video where I show you how much tax I paid on a rental property when I sold it. So if you're considering selling a rental property, you might be shocked how much you might have to pay in income taxes. So check this video out. I show all the details of my own property. Then I give you a spreadsheet for free where you can use that to calculate on your own property how much you might pay in taxes. There'll be a link to this video in the YouTube description below, or if you're listening on the podcast, it'll be in the podcast description. I'll see you in the next video.